Hello and welcome to this week's podcast, which is going to be about RuneScape TV. So I have with me today
Mod Simon.
And I'm Mod MattHe, the podcast monkey, and we're just going to get straight into it. So what is RuneScape TV?
Okay, so RuneScape TV, it's our weekly live stream for RuneScape, or I guess what some people call RuneScape 3. We aim to produce it once a week to really basically give players the best insight into the world of not just RuneScape but Jagex as well, and provide as much detail that they want as we can. Obviously, sometimes we have to keep our voices shut a little bit, but we can try and give them
can't show everything, can we?
But a few teasers here and there is obviously always really useful.
Okay, so streaming is still fairly new to Jagex. How's it changed in the lead up to RuneScape TV? Right,
well, RuneScape TV has kind of been a culmination of my time at Jagex. I mean, myself and my colleague, Mod James, who would be here today, but unfortunately he's on holiday. I say unfortunately, he's in Florida, so he's probably
he's in Florida?
Yes. So
living it up then?
Yeah, a little bit. So we've been here for just over 10 months, and we basically arrived with the room that we're in now. Obviously, people want to listen to a podcast can't see it, but we're in the streaming room, and it was an empty space. It was a soundproof room, and basically Jagex didn't really have a functional streaming space, and so in the lead up to RuneScape TV, we created a studio in which now we host these weekly live streams, which has led to a massive improvement in production quality of the streams that we produce, as well as just the scope for future streams that we can do is now really, really high. We've also tried to improve the content, and I hope that the listeners that have seen streams have seen that to come to fruition. There have been a few changes in the type of stuff that we've streamed. I mean, for RuneScape, we used to focus heavily on featured streamers, which was when we effectively gave other streamers of members of the community the keys to the door of the RuneScape account, and they'd go and stream on the RuneScape account, which gave them a little bit more publicity, which was really good. And we're always passionate about trying to help streamers get their channels built up.
Right.
But it really wasn't seeing the traction that we hoped for, and we wanted any time that the RuneScape channel was streaming for it to be something really flagship and that every player would want to watch. So we've kind of cut that back, and now producing just a regular stream each week to try and really, really help promote the content that the awesome guys here make. And so far it's been working, and it's been going really well.
Right, so while we're talking about the streaming room, I suppose we can do a quick audio tour. We're obviously sat on the sofas, which you might see on the stream, various streams we do. And behind us there's a big curved wall with a bank of TVs that we use to show images. Yeah, and we have a green screen that rolls across the top of it.
Yep, sometimes you'll see streams where you're not seeing this usual TV backdrop, and it might just be a graphic, and it's not the fact that we've gone and got a printing company to go and make a huge canvas for us. It's actually just using a green screen and using what's called a chroma key to take out that green and replace it with an image, which can pose very, very interesting shots. I mean, if anyone was lucky enough to tune into a stream we did not so long ago with a team called The Nameless, which is led by Mod Crissell, we talked about the Tusker World event, and we were provided with an awesome backdrop, which is effectively a video recording of the skybox, which you'll be presented with when you finally get to take on the Tusker World event. And it has various rocks and formations flying through it as an animated backdrop. And we had that going behind the stream, so occasionally every 15 seconds or so a rock would just appear from behind the couch and fly up through the air. And it poses interesting opportunities for what we can do on the stream.
Yeah. And we've got a big, heavy, soundproof door in here.
Yes.
With a massive handle that you have to crank, basically, to get out.
It's quite the irony that it's a soundproof room, yet the door is far from soundproof in itself. Whilst it blocks the sound, opening it is...
closing it
is quite noisy, so if you ever hear a random screech on the stream...
Or on the podcast.
Yeah, or on the podcast. It's probably someone opening or closing that door, which is unfortunate. Maybe we should get some WD-40 on the case, I think.
And then we've got a wall of pictures with a sofa where people sit while they're waiting to come on.
Yeah, it's definitely a multifunctional space, and we try and accommodate everyone in this room. So the video team, obviously, they produce the awesome behind-the-scenes videos and various other videos throughout the month. Now, once a month, they create their what they call their month ahead. What your players will see as, of course, it will say this month's updates coming in January or March or whatever it may be. And they do that in front of a wall of awesome concept art that have been drawn by the RuneScape concept.
And then we have a little bank of cameras that stare at us when we're on the live streams.
Yes, no, they're always quite intense. We upgraded the cameras not so long ago, along with this room sort of refurbishment. We really wanted to take streaming to the next level, and I mean, I don't really want to get into too much of the technicality of it, but we used to stream effectively in standard definition. I'm sure a lot of the listeners will know TVs over the past sort of 5-10 years have really started to upgrade into high definition. And it's a bit confusing when you have HD ready and full HD, but the difference is the resolution. We used to produce at 720p, and with the purchase of the new cameras, we're actually able not only to produce at 1080p, which is a full HD, but we now actually have scope to upgrade to full 4K Ultra HD. So for anyone that's really desperate to see every fine detail on Mod MattHe's face, they might be able to sometime soon.
You really don't want to. And then we have our gaming machines, where we present the material.
Absolutely. So with RuneScape TV, it's not all just about a chat on the sofa, as much as that's obviously a key draw, and we always want it to keep it sort of fresh and entertaining. What guys really come to see is some of the content showcases that we can provide. And by having a couple of gaming machines here, we enable a couple of mods to jump on during that stream and go into things like the test worlds or maybe the beta and show off some content that is about to hit the game and really give you that in-depth teaser of everything coming up.
And last but not least, we have the production desk, where we have Mod Bond sitting listening to us as we're chatting.
Yes, the production desk is quite an interesting one. I remember when we were trying to sort of spec this thing out, discussing with our head of sort of procurement, the guy that buys everything, and talking with the head of IT, they were skeptical as to why we needed so many screens and pieces of tech. And it is quite extravagant, but it really does enable us to produce amazing things. I mean, the real scope of what we can do has never really been seen, but the closest we've come, if anyone was fortunate enough to see the Clan Cup final that we hosted at Jagex HQ last year, that was in, I think it was the 1st of November last year, if I remember rightly. That really showed off what we can do. We actually have an amazing gaming LAN area now in the atrium at Jagex, which has 60 gaming computers in there for everyone to go on and play, not just for staff, obviously during lunch breaks, but when we have events, players can come in too. You've seen it in things like Game Blast. And we have a stage in there which really gives that esports feel. You can have a 5 versus 5 tournament there, which is perfect for things like the clan wars that we use for the Clan Cup. And we were able to capture every single one of those persons' screens, which is really above the scope of anything we could have produced before. We used to be able to, we were limited to capturing one camera and one PC screen, which is obviously very restrictive. You just have to show one thing at a time. But now we can actually capture almost infinite screens at once. So we obviously capture the 10 stage machines. We can capture all the screens in here, and we can just seamlessly flick between all of them, so we can show you guys the best content as it happens. So
that's a little audio tour of the video streaming room. So for RuneScape TV, who's involved in RuneScape TV now?
As I mentioned, it's myself and Mod James that head up the department. So we're employed as video streaming specialists, and we sort of use our expertise to help source and the equipment for this room and put it together. And then we effectively head up the production, making sure that everything works, and then make sure that the people that help, which is in fact actually yourself and other members of the DevCon team.
DevCon team, DevCon 1.
Yes, that they're extremely useful and be able to provide assistance with the production. When we built it, it was kind of intended to be able to work with just 2 people on production, and it is functional. However, if anyone has ever seen a broadcast studio, something maybe not on the scale of things like the BBC, but proper broadcast studios, you'll see that they don't just have a 2-man production team. It is a fully assembled unit, and so it often does require a few more staff to keep all the cogs and wheels turning there.
Okay, so when and where is RuneScape TV on?
Right, so RuneScape TV, if you're not aware and you fancy tuning in, it happens currently every Tuesday at 4 till 5 p.m. Now that's 4 till 5 p.m. At the minute is British summertime. It does change to Greenwich Mean Time, which is GMT. But if you reference it against game time currently, when you're playing, obviously that should be 3 p.m. till 4 p.m. You want to go to twitch.tv/RuneScape. So Twitch is the live streaming platform that we use. And we use that because it's the gamer's platform. We can stream on YouTube, but YouTube offers a whole host of streams, whereas Twitch is dedicated to just gaming. And obviously RuneScape, at its core, is pure gaming. Now, we may have chat shows, we may have various other things, but realistically it all focuses around RuneScape, and so we wanted to keep it at the home of where all of your favourite RuneScape community streamers are, which are all on Twitch.
Okay, so it's live streamed. What if I miss it? What if I don't see it on the live stream?
Of course, the curse with live broadcasts is the fact that you can miss it, unfortunately. But there are several things in place to make sure that that experience isn't ruined for you.
Yep.
So Twitch itself actually uploads what's called a VOD, which for anyone that doesn't know that acronym is Video On Demand. So once the live stream is finished, it may take a few minutes for it to process it all up and cut it into a video, but you'll be able to watch it back as if it were live. Obviously, you won't have things like the chat, although if anyone's handy with Chrome, there are various extensions you can use to actually get the chat back and see the chat as you're watching the video. Obviously, you can't partake in the chat, but sometimes it's quite entertaining to see
what the reactions were.
The various reactions were, yes, of course. So if you do miss it, you can always watch it on Twitch. However, I would actually recommend heading over to YouTube, because shortly after the stream ends, we export that video over to YouTube on the RuneScape YouTube channel, of course, so youtube.com/RuneScape, and you'll be able to find it on there. There's actually, quite recently, been formed a RuneScape TV playlist, so every week they'll automatically go into that playlist, and you'll be able to find them there.
Brilliant. Okay. So what kind of things get included on RuneScape TV then? What kind of thing might I see?
So at its core, really, it's a content showcase. That's really what we want to deliver. That was myself and Mod James's intent. We know that players are desperate to see what's going to be hitting their game soon. And so what we really want to do is break down sort of walls of transparency and make sure that we can players can see right into Jagex, see exactly what's going on, and know when they're going to get their content. So as soon as we can, obviously sometimes we can't show off things too early, but as soon as we can, we'll show you off the latest content about to hit the game, and we'll get some of the QA testers, the developers, and some of the designers behind that content, and even the graphics artists recently as well, which has been great, to talk about the content they've created for you to go and enjoy.
So why did we start RuneScape TV? Why are we doing this?
So as I mentioned, really it's just to try and break down those walls that we've had before, where Jagex has been notoriously quite private about a lot of the things that it's made, and especially through RuneScape over the past few years, we've really started to break down those walls. It used to be the case that you'd never really find out about future content. Sometimes you would log in, or you'd go on the homepage, for example, and you might find, oh, there's a new skill, and those kind of things, they're not going to happen anymore.
That's not the kind of thing we like to try and jump on people anymore.
Yeah, we like to keep a few things up our sleeve, but of course, the real big stuff that really influences you guys with things like power to the players, or player power, as it's now called. With those things coming in, we obviously want to be able to give you guys as much influence in your game as possible, and being able to see that content before it comes out and offer feedback on it at that stage is where it's really valuable. And that's the crucial thing about live streams. You may see something 2 months before it comes out, and you may think, well, Mod Simon, why are you doing this? Because I can't actually play it for 2 months. But that's the stage at which you can offer your feedback to say, I don't like this because, or I think that's awesome, but I'd love to see this as well. And it's then on the developers and the designers to come around and really take that feedback. And that's something that they are really doing now with quite a passion. They're all really dedicated to making sure that every piece of content they produce is something that you guys want to play. What
are your plans and hopes for the future of RuneScape TV?
Okay, well, RuneScape TV has been really successful so far. I'm glad to be able to say that, and we've seen a steady, growing audience throughout that, and we're hoping, obviously, that that continues. And weekly, we hope that you can all return and watch a great show. And moving forward, it's simply just to keep those aspirations alive of making it as transparent as possible, showing you as much content as we can, really giving you deep insight into how things are made, why things are made, and basically getting you involved in the creation process of that. Rune Labs is a fantastic way that we're already doing that this year, but with the live streams, it gives you an opportunity to offer feedback when something's already in production, not just suggest an idea, but really just add those little
part of the process.
Add the little niceties that would really help players enjoy it. Things like quality of life and various suggestions like that.
Okay. Outside of RuneScape TV, with this great streaming room facility, what other streams can viewers expect to see then?
Okay, so I mean, the most regular you're probably going to see are things like the CM events. So our community management team, they often run events in-game, and sometimes they like to live stream these to obviously increase the profile of them. And so they happen probably on a bi-weekly basis, but do stay tuned for those. You'll see them around. Sometimes they'll actually follow on directly after a RuneScape TV episode, so it's the perfect time to go and watch those. But also the less frequent events that you might see, obviously big RuneScape events. I mean, the first one that jumps to mind for anyone is RuneFest. You're always going to be able to see that getting live streamed. Now, it's not actually going to come from this studio because we're always on location, but that is obviously a flagship stream that over the past few years players have loved to be able to see. We mentioned the Clan Cup earlier. That was a phenomenal stream last year, and I'm sure that we'll look to try and replicate anything we can from that, being able to broadcast effectively a live competition, which is something very new to RuneScape. So we hope to be able to see that again this year. But also various other events, if anyone was lucky enough to see the drop live stream that happened in January of this year. So that was a piece of content that you can't actually go and play. It's a restricted access piece of content. It can only be started by JMods, and it's a quiz in game. So if you did miss it, I'm sure you'll be able to find various videos and the live streams, in fact, of the drop happening. But it was an exciting time where we streamed 2 players and got players involved in game whilst the stream was going on. It was an interactive experience, and whilst we did the drop and it was very successful, we look to try and expand that now into future ideas. Obviously, you can still see the drop though with the CM team, as I mentioned, being able to go and deploy it wherever they fancy and test your RuneScape trivia. Okay,
so last couple of questions. What's been the funniest thing to happen on RuneScape TV so far?
It's really a hard one to answer that. I guess it's perceptive to the viewer, but for me, I guess I can only really deem it funny now. But looking back at it, it has to be pretty much where I don't. It might sound like I'm over exaggerating, but I almost nearly died on production. I think there was a time back in December where we had a really great Q&A with Mod MattHe, which Mod James hosted. But that left just me on production, so it's just the 3 of us in the room. And the problem was I was starting to get very ill at this time. I'm not usually someone that gets ill, so I usually try and trudge through it. But I remember the room was pretty icy cold. We had the aircon on, so there was no reason to be hot. But I was sitting at the production desk, mixing the audio and making sure that all the cameras were fine. And I was dripping in sweat. And Mod MattHe and Mod James, they did reference it quite a few times. Just
full on man flu.
Are you okay? Are you about to die? You look white. There was various occasions. Which is always good. It's funny to... I know often the viewers don't fully get the context of when people are spoke to off camera. Obviously, don't hear, but as much as at the time I most certainly didn't find it funny, looking back at it, it probably was quite hilarious to see me, just dripping with sweat in an ice cold room. That was quite weird. I was very ill.
What's been your favourite moment of RuneScape TV so far?
This is
what's really hit that sweet spot for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a weird one, and I guess really it's player involvement that really gets me going.
Right.
And so for RuneScape TV specifically, not just, I mean, the drop that we did, that was so successful, and that's one of my favourite streams we've done, no doubt. But for RuneScape TV, it was one of the first episodes that we did in sort of our trial run at the end of last year, if anyone saw them. And it was with the Nameless, who actually weren't named at that time. Not that the Nameless is really a name. But that's Development Team 1, for anyone that's unaware. It's led by Mod Crissell, and he had his team on, and they were talking through various bits of content, things like the new Virago Phase 10, things like that. But whilst that really got the audience going and excited them, the one thing that I didn't expect was the bit which the chat just lost. They lost it. They went crazy, and they absolutely loved what they were seeing. Was the smallest of things. It was actually Fred came in and he had a piece of concept art. It was a side-by-side concept art of showing what clan avatars used to look like. And then what they look like now. And so that was just a small change that he did. It didn't take him too long. So it's one of these, like, it was kind of a ninja style fix as much as he's not a member of the ninja team. And it really sticks in my mind because just by showing that concept art, I've never seen the chat react so positively and so overwhelmingly towards a piece of content. I mean, I'm a RuneScape player at heart, and I knew how frustrating clan avatars were with their ridiculous click radiuses, and I appreciate the frustrations of players, but just seeing that being made smaller and the chat just absolutely
the player reaction
showing mad love to Fred and the team, it was that was just really satisfying, and that's the kind of thing that I really wanted to deliver with RuneScape TV.
Superb. Well, for those that have missed it, despite the fact we mentioned it several times, where can you find and when can you find RuneScape TV?
So, twitch.tv/RuneScape. That is the platform for all things RuneScape.
Yeah.
Now, if you are an old school fan as well, all the old school streams are on there too.
Yeah.
But RuneScape TV specifically is at Tuesday 4 till 5 p.m. And
Tuesday 4 till 5.
Yes, the British time. So at the minute, British
summertime.
But do be aware that does change. But we'll obviously notify you with that as soon as we can. And watch out for in-game broadcasts that will notify you of when these shows go live.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to seeing you on it.
Thank you very much.
Speak to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.